Okay, welcome guys. Today we are going to learn the concept of classes and objects, which are referred to any programming language, which uh, is like any object-oriented programming. We refer the terms class and objects. So, what is a class? So, class, if I go with a general definition, how the class is defined, it's basically a blueprint. So you have some blueprint which has a different type of properties. We have variables, functions in that. A class will allow you, or a blueprint will allow you create a different instances of the specific blueprint. So when I say class is basically a blueprint, and this blueprint will allow you to create different instances of this blueprint. And that instances those instances are called objects. Okay, how we can say like some basic part. If I take an example of a car, so we have different. When I say I will take a brand Maruti has different cars, correct? Swift is one. Then we'll take another car is a Brezza, correct? So we'll take two cars example. They have engine, they have different ways to perform. Now they have a number of tires, they have a steering. So these all things, the one blueprint is there. Okay, that blueprint says I have these set of properties, these set of variables, these set of methods mentioned in the blueprint. Now what type of car you wanted to create? If you wanted to create car Swift, you can set those properties. You can have particular events related to that. And if you want to create a Brezza, then again you have a different set of say like it has 4 tires, and assume if we have auto also, correct? So auto has three tires. So that property you will actually, when you are creating the instance, I told you have a blueprint and you are creating an instance of that. When you are creating an instance, that time you define how many, what all the characteristics or properties of that specific object. Okay, we'll take one more common example. I want you all to have your playground open, because for the next couple of tutorials we'll be using playground. I showed you when you open Xcode, you have different 3 options. We always relied on the project one till now, because we worked on the UI components up till now. I explained you about app delegate class, how view controller is there. We once again, when we go back to the projects, I will actually revise you all. If you have not watched those videos, it is there on YouTube. Okay, you can go through that. So how you will create a class? We'll have a class keyword and say I am creating a person class. Okay, so with this brackets, this is basically you have got your class done. This is my class. This is a blueprint which has nothing. Correct? I explained you class is a blueprint and it will let you create multiple instances of it. How we can see that? Let me create objects, the instances. So we'll be using let and where. Let is a constant, where is a variable. Okay, we'll learn about this once we actually get into more computational things. Okay, so I'll create let. So we have one student, Abhilash. I'll say Abhilash is a person. Okay, with the brackets. Now I have one instance. This is basically, this is the blueprint which all I was explaining, blueprint, and I have this as an instance. Okay, what class has done? It has allowed me to create instance of a class. Okay, where is the instance? This is the instance which is called, what it is called, object. Okay, now when I say it will allow you to create multiple instances, you can create another person which is Abhishek person. Now I have 2 instances. Okay, similar way I can create multiple instances. Okay, so let's get into what classes will have. A class will have, I told you when I took a previous example of a car, I told car will have different set of properties. You can have different things for specific class. For a car, you have a 3-tire car, which is called auto here. You have 4-tire car. Then you have a different characteristics. You have a different engine in the class. Okay, here we'll take an example of a person. What person can have? I can say it can have age. Okay, so I'll say age equal to 20. Now, how we give a specified data type? In Swift, it is a type inference. You have given 20, so it has assumed age as an integer. But if you wanted to give explicitly, which is always a good practice, you know, like what type of variable you are creating. So I say my age is of type int, which has a value 20. Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll create another. What I can have for a person? Okay, it can have a gender. Gender can be
String.
Correct. So let's give it a string. Okay, so gender we will give, say, like male. Fine. So now you're getting a, I will tell you, like further going down, we were getting an error, which now we are not getting it. So now I'll say Abhilash dot, I will get access to the property. I will say age, and my playground should run and print the age. Okay, so now see here, Abhilash, here you can, on the right side, you can see it's a type of person and he has value 20. Okay, when I say Abhilash gender, okay, now you could see, and similarly I will say for Abhishek dot age and Abhishek dot gender. Now keep an eye on this, because I'm going to explain you basically what exactly is happening. It should actually run automatically. I don't know. Okay, now what has happened is I mentioned class as a blueprint, and I told you can create multiple instances. But you know, now what we did, we created some properties, some instance variables for the class. So a person can have an age and a gender. It can have multiple properties. We'll discuss about only 2. Now, what is the problem in our case? The problem in our case is, see here, Abhilash age is also 20 and Abhishek age is also 20. So then our class is actually not giving us the correct behavior. Okay, why it is not giving the correct behavior? Because we don't want behavior to be defined in the class. When you're creating an object, you tell what type of object it is. When I say Abhilash is a person of this age and this gender, okay, then class can act as a blueprint, okay, and then your instances can be a proper object. In this case, what I have to do is, if I have set the property like this, I will create one, person 2. So person 1 will be Abhilash, whose age is 20. Then I'll give another property again with the some value 30 or this, and I'll say Abhishek. Okay, that is not, the class is not serving a purpose. So what I will do is, let me delete this and let me delete this part. Okay, so now I have 2 properties. My playground should give me an error. We'll go through what exactly the playground is telling. So it says class person has no initializer. It has 2 values. Okay, but how you will define Abhilash age is how much? You have not given anything, or you're not taking it from outside. Correct? We need to, if we wanted to give some information to someone, we should have information to us beforehand, or somebody should give us that information so that we can actually distribute it to somebody else. So how we can do that? Then you will have a class which is called initializer. In Swift, you will have initializer like this. Okay, you have init, you will say what all parameters you wanted to pass. Now you can pass age and gender when you are creating a object outside. Okay, so how we can do? Let me say age. Okay, this is the parameter name. You will say colon, and then you will say what type of parameter it is. We have defined on the top age, so comma. Again, now the second is gender, colon, what type of parameter it is? String. Okay, now I'll say, since this properties are class properties, okay, this will always be referred as self. So when you say self dot age, you will assign the age. This age is this age. So how you will identify, okay, this age is this one and this one, you will specify with, you will refer the age as self dot age, and the scope of this is only within these braces. Okay, so the similar way I'll say self dot gender equal to gender. Now we'll see with the initializer, because our person class was telling the class is not correct because it requires an initializer. Now our class definition is correct. Okay, let's go to the another error now. It says missing argument for parameter age in the call. So what we were doing is, here we are creating Abhilash with, okay, Abhilash as a person without giving any parameter. Now class doesn't have anything which is like constant for all. Okay, you can have a static property, say like is this a human being, a person? It's always true, correct? Then you can have that static property when you're creating a person. Is person is alive? That is again, when you are creating a person, you can actually specify from outside, okay, I am creating an object of this guy, but he's not alive. So you cannot specify that property as a static value within the class here somewhere. Okay, now how I can pass parameter? I'll start the bracket. Now it is saying you have to initialize the person with some value. So I'll say Abhilash is 18. This is how you will give integer value. Gender you can give male. Okay, now Abhishek is coming second, so you don't mind when I will give a different gender, just for an example it is. Okay, so now what it is saying is use of unresolved identifier Abhilash, or we change the name of the Abhilash, I just use L. Okay, so now if I run, okay, I still have issues, but here it should update, but I think it will not run because it's giving an issue. Let's correct this also. I'll give age 25 and I'll say female. Okay, just for an example. And now if I run this, okay, you could see now this is acting actually as a blueprint. It is saying I am representing a person. You tell me when you are creating an instance or you are creating an object of that blueprint, you specify some specific properties. So in our case, what we have done is person with the age, okay, gender. Here you can say when here it is printing the respective information. Now I'll say if you wanted to greet a person. Okay, since I created this Abhilash and I'll say age and all that. Method you can have. So I can create, how we can create a function. This is how you will have a function. Yeah.
So init is the concept.
Yes. So the question is init, like how you are referring the Java, like you have a constructor for the class. Okay. Here also correct.
So there is no concept of default constructor.
You can previously I showed you when you created a class with the blueprint person. Okay. You have the set of variables. Okay, and the variables you had value. So in that case, what your class is defining is I have the information predefined with me. So you don't have to, even you will try to define, it is of no use. So by default, how you will do is person init, but it will not do anything because your initializer is not taking anything. Now what we do is we say, I have created a initializer. Whenever you create an initializer, I will cover that part. You can have a conventional init that I will cover in the respective classes. So, okay, he has taken an example of Java, but I'm saying here in the second scenario, that's why I took it from the very basic. When you have predefined values in the class, your default constructor has nothing to do with it because it has no value.
Yeah, because in other languages, until you access that variable, you don't get any error. But here, compilation itself giving an error.
Yes, so compilation is giving an issue. So why it is happening? Because the moment you created an instance or object of the class, it says some value should be given to those properties. You cannot have some random. It will not take any, and it will be with the garbage value. You can do that. So initially what we did is the default value. So basically what has happened in the very first case, when I told age is equal to 25, gender is equal to male or female, those are the default values. When I was further giving an example, like you wanted some value which has to be a default value always for the class, that you can set it like this. So say if I have another thing, say like I am not able to get something on the head, say like ID, and this has to be, or a group. This will make more sense. You can give it from outside also, but I wanted a group. It should be of type int, okay, and it should always be having a value of 0. Now see, your class will still not shout on you like this value is not mentioned in your initializer. So this is given as a default value. Okay, so we'll move further. I wanted to show you function. Yeah, you have a question.
Yeah, so you have written the function. So it already stored, we have not run anything, but still it was showing an error. So how exactly it is
Yes. So basically, even playground, this is the button you can see. I can forceful this. Okay, let me see how I can
I
zoom in.
believe it is compile and save, right?
Yes, see here.
Every time
Yes.
you stop.
So this button you are able to see. Okay. So this button, it can happen on that also. It mostly happens on that. Sometimes due to a glitch and all, sometimes it doesn't work that way. Then you have to forcefully click on that. Mostly it works on that. On the save, it compiles and see, it tries to find if you have a compiler issue. Say like if I've typed F, so it didn't understand F is doing what. Now it should actually give a compiler issue. It took time. So if you wanted it to respond immediately, what you can do is you can hit this plus button and it will, or play button, and it will actually give you an issue. So I wanted to show you function. Say like I will say greetings. Okay, I will not pass any parameter and I'll not return anything. Okay, so let me tell you how the function type, I will not take the default thing. Okay, how we will define a function. So with the func keyword, you will say it's of type function. Then you have another things which I will be covering in the upcoming lessons. Okay, people who are actually quite familiar with other languages, they can have multiple questions like how we can do that, how we can have the function and all that. That we will be covering in the upcoming lessons. What all things are there in Swift. Okay, and then it can be compared with the other languages. So the function is starting with the func keyword. You can see the color is different. Now I will give a function name. So this is the function name. Okay, if your function is taking any arguments or any parameters, how you will say. So say my greeting is taking a name, it is of type string. Okay, and it is taking age, it is of type string. Okay, so this how what we will call. Okay, I'll just cut this for a minute. This function is called, this is a function which is taking no arguments and returning nothing. Okay, no arguments and it is not returning anything. If I say command Z, now my function is taking 2 arguments, a name and age, but it is still not returning anything. In Swift, if you wanted to specify a return, how you will do it, say like if it is returning an integer value, you will say integer. Okay, and you can now the compiler is giving an issue because your method should return an int value, it is not returning. And if I say return 1, it will be silent. Okay, so this is like we have created a function. Now I will tell you a function, if you are passing an argument and you are doing nothing inside the function, then you should never have an argument. This is a basic thumbs rule. If your function, you are passing name and age and you're not doing anything within the method, actually you don't require these things inside. This is just for an example. Mostly people don't do that. Okay, so I will delete. I don't want any argument. I don't want to return anything. But whenever the function, you say greeting, I'll say print. Okay, and I'll say hello. Okay, so now I will say Abhilash and Abhilash dot. How you will call greeting? you could see here when you have properties, okay, you access like this, but when you are trying to access a method, you will have to mention with the brace. These are the angle brackets, correct? Okay. So now when you greet the person, let me run this. It should print. This is your console window where all your print statements will come. You can see I have selected here. Okay. Let me focus on this part here. You can see whatever we were printing, Abhilash, we can see it here. Okay. I wanted to show you now in the print, if we wanted to say hello to the object who is calling the method in Swift, if you wanted to pass an argument. So say if I wanted to self dot okay, hello. So this is the your age is. This is how you can have self dot age and your gender is. Again, you will have backslash bracket and you will say self dot gender. So how this method will be useful? See, if I call it on Abhilash, I'll say greet Abhilash. Okay, it will say hello. Let's see how we can add a name also. Hello, your age is 18 and your gender is male. Now let me call it on Abhishek and I'll say greet Abhishek. Okay, where is that thing? Okay, so it will say hello, your age is 25 since we gave 25 and your gender is female. Okay, now how we can customize this greeting messages. I'll say you can have a name which is of type string. Okay, and you will say name here which is of type string. Okay, and I'll say self dot name equal to the name you are passing it from outside. How we added the properties, the similar way we are adding a name string now. Okay, so it is saying here you should give name as we will give. This is how we will give string. Okay, I will say Abhilash. Okay, the similar way here also for Abhishek also you will give name. I will say Abhishek. Okay, and how we will separate the parameters with the comma. Okay, now the greeting how we can say hello. What is that? Self dot name. What we have missed out is if we want to pass a parameter in the print statement, this is the backslash. Okay, so now if I run the greeting messages, so it says hello Abhilash, your age is 18 and your gender is male. Hello Abhishek, your age is 25 and your gender is female. Okay, so what we can do for today is you can have a playground. You can think of something else. Say I gave you initial example of cars. Okay, create a class car. Okay, you can have properties like how many tires are there, what is what we have. Car has a, what is that? Steering. The important part is I'm not able to recall that word.
Engine.
Yes. So you will have a type of car, correct? Okay, so if it's a sports car, you have different variant in the car section. You can have those as a properties. When you have a function you can write, you can get a speed of a car. Okay, so let's make it a little more interesting. I will show you how methods can be more useful. I will say var running speed. Okay, that is type int. Now we know the person we are creating, they can be of, like we have fitness people here in and around, like who keep on track of their running speed. So we'll say like the running speed, maybe like minimum you should have 10. Okay, and we'll say, okay, I think the optionals I wanted to show you, maybe like we'll take it as a separate lesson, but say int, again on the similar line, you will give this running speed here and you can give the running speed for this. Okay, similarly we added name, and now function you can have, you will say running speed. Okay, it won't take any parameter, you will return integer value and you will say return self dot running speed. Okay, I have not given it. This is a part of your homework. Take this example, give a running speed, and then again you call on Abhilash with the running speed which you have passed here. On Abhishek, you pass the running speed, you will get access. So let me summarize this. What we have done today is we spoke about class, how it is a blueprint. I showed you if it has everything predefined, then it is not serving our purpose. You can have still static values for the class, say like some values which are common. If you are creating 10 objects out of that and we want all objects have one common thing, but when we talk about objects, basically they will have a different set of properties. Okay, so your class is a blueprint. Okay, and your instance, when we talk about instance, or your class will allow you to create different instances. These instances are called objects. Okay, so we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.